We all know that it's not easy walking away from something you love, especially if you've been doing it your whole life. So in order to combat that stubbornness, someone or something must come in and force you to walk away. Only then does it become an easy decision to make. In this video, we're going to be learning about the exact moment these NBA players realized that it was officially time to retire.
I'm in Sacramento, and no kidding, the national anthem, I'm standing there, and I look up in the rafters of Sacramento, and I see Peja Stojakovic, Vlade Divac, Chris Webber, all these jerseys retired. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Like they've stopped playing for a while. I mean, their jerseys are up there. What am I still doing here? I need to go home.
While that clip was funny, and I certainly don't doubt that that happened, it was actually during the middle of a game when Kobe officially knew it was time to retire. The date was November 28th, 2015, the Lakers visiting Portland, when Kobe informed his head coach Byron Scott of his decision at halftime, completely catching him off guard. I said, KB, I played you 20 minutes in the first half. I'm gonna cut those minutes down. I've gotta cut them down. Scott said that he said, that's good, coach, that's alright. I'm gonna announce my retirement after the game. I said, what? Scott told ESPN. That was the shock part. I was in that state for the rest of the game. Even when I was watching him play and watching him running up and down, I'm going, did he just tell me that? He was at peace when he told me. That's the only thing I could say. During that game when I was watching him and putting him in the game and taking him out, that's the most relaxed and at peace that I've ever seen him. Now, if we want to get technical here, I did say that that Portland game was when he officially knew it was time to hang it up at the end of that season. But the truth is, word got out of his retirement a couple weeks even before that. Or I should say the word got out to only one person, when he decided to give Dwyane Wade a heads up before anyone else. The Lakers played Miami on November 10th, 2015, but it was the night before when he gave D Wade a little advance notice. Rachel Nichols had the story. She described in a Facebook post how Dwyane Wade randomly encountered Kobe Bryant in the Heat's locker room while he was soaking in a cold tub. And at the end of it, Kobe asked Dwyane if his sons were coming to the game the next night. Dwyane said no, as it was a school night. And Kobe said, you know what, bring them. I think it's going to be my last time here. So looking back in hindsight, little did we know Kobe was actually saying goodbye to Miami in this clip and wanted to make sure Wade's kids were able to see him one last time, again when nobody else even had a clue. Back in 2018, Mark Spears tweeted, it's time to start talking about Josh Hart in the same regard as the other young Lakers, to which David West chimed in and revealed that Hart's defense contributed to his decision to hang it up. You asked me if I knew during the year. This little mofo stood me up in the post twice. Time to hang it up, I said to myself in the game. And the game David West was more than likely referring to took place on December 18th, 2017, when the Warriors visited Staples Center.
On Friday before they come back home on Saturday to play Portland. West, who operates in the environment for Kobe Bryant.
Ooh, the Lakers got away with a boo-boo.
Well, now they got Josh Hart on David West, tries to take advantage.
Hart even won another battle in the post when the two teams met again 4 days later. At this point, it was clear that West was no longer the bulldozer in the post, having trouble with a significantly smaller rookie at the time. Josh Hart himself tried to make him feel better by saying, stood a lot of bigs up down there, don't take it personal. Well, it looks like David West did kind of take it personal. Here he is once again on the moment he realized he should retire. We played the Lakers and I tried to post up Josh Hart a couple times and I couldn't post him up. Literally during the game I'm thinking, yo, if you can't move this cat, you gotta go, it's time.
You said you posted up Josh Hart?
Yeah.
And then you were like, all right, it's time to retire?
Yeah.
Was it good defense or is he trash?
No. It's not like that. It's that was year 15, and I already knew, my body was where my body was. I had to lose a whole lot of weight just to stay healthy and stay, and stay on the floor. And then, your body just starts telling you, man, like, I can't do this no more. Like, I get to LA. And I'm like, how am I gonna get loose to play tonight? So when I got out there, I'm trying to do what I usually do. Yeah. And my body was like, not tonight.
It looks like Robert Parrish shares that same thought process as David West does, also believing that it's time to retire if something like that happens. Here's the full quote. I noticed a big difference in my level of play, Parrish told The Guardian. A big difference, even in practices. I'd be kicking ass in practice, but then it takes me another 4 to 6 practices to kick that same ass again. That's another telltale sign that it's time to retire. When a player that is not on your level is giving you the business and you can't do shit about it. Steve Smith thought it was a telltale sign to walk away from the game when Jamal Crawford did this to him.
Jamal Crawford threw it through my legs.
It's time to quit.
You know, the new up screener rolls, so I put my foot on the sideline thinking he has nowhere to go. He threw it through my legs and laid it up, but I looked at Bernie Bickerstaff as my coach, and he said, time.
Brent Barry credits Rudy Fernandez for helping him realize that his time was up.
We were playing up in Portland, and this Spanish kid named Fernandez, first name Rudy, was a first-year player for the Portland Trailblazers. He checked into the game when I checked into the game, coming off the bench, and I couldn't find him. Honestly, I couldn't find it. He was running around, and I was like, man, I used to do that. I used to run like that, and I could not catch Rudy Fernandez, and at that time, I seriously considered it might be time.
Now, it's not always a particular opponent that pushes a player into retirement. Sometimes it's just because their career has simply run its course, which is another reason why Kobe decided to call it quits.
So how did you know this was it?
I try to have at least 15 minutes of still time and just kind of sit in my thoughts in the morning and just kind of meditate. Normally what happens with me is my mind would always drift to the game, always. And then I found myself sitting there, my mind wouldn't drift towards the game all the time anymore. And that's when I started realizing, you know what, it's getting close. It's getting close.
There comes a point where players just rather do other things, with basketball becoming less and less appealing by the day, which is exactly what Isaiah Thomas went through near the end of his career.
We were in Orlando, and we was coming from Detroit, and we checked into the hotel, and the next morning we had an 11 o'clock shoot around. And so I got up early, like I always do, ate some breakfast, and now I'm laying by the pool. I'm timing myself waiting to go to the bus. And the pool is sitting there, I'm laying there. And,
I think I know how this story is.
And, you know, I'm looking at my watch, and I'm like, I don't want to go to practice. I don't want to go to shoot around. And that was the first time in my life that I never wanted to go to the gym.
And of course, the ability to see their family more plays a huge part as well.
We had played a road game in Oklahoma City, I think the night before, got in late. Family was in Brooklyn, and I was living on my own in New Orleans. And I was like super emotional because on Christmas morning, we were in Miami, and my wife had sent me a video of my now 5-year-old running down the stairs to the Christmas tree. And I basically checked out at that moment. Like, I was like, I just want to be home. I don't want to do this. And I told my mom, I was like, I just want to get in my car and drive from New Orleans back to New York City. Like, I just want to be home. And she's like, why don't you?
Now, this story doesn't exactly highlight the point where Jermaine O'Neal wanted to necessarily retire, but he does go on to describe how he knew his stint with the Miami Heat was coming to an end. You see, I guess Miami has a strict diet program where everybody on the team should only have around 8% body fat, but Jermaine O'Neal had to look in the mirror and ask himself if it was even worth it anymore.
They wanted me to re-sign. Like, I knew that Bryant and him was coming. I knew Bryant was coming. And this is the realest thing I could tell y'all. You know, they got that 8% body fat. I remember going into the pantry at night, looking at the Oreos looking at me. And I am in a full battle daily on what I ate.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm 30 plus years old. I can't go through that. I'm too old to be having a debate whether I want to have an Oreo or not. Right? I can't do that shit. So that's why I left Miami.
Even LeBron coming to the Heat wasn't enough to motivate him to stay away from the Oreos, missing out on a couple championships. At least the players we've talked about so far got to walk away on their own terms, but unfortunately not everyone gets afforded that luxury. These players didn't have to contemplate whether or not it was time to call it quits. That decision was made for them, but obviously they wish that wasn't the case.
Our Chinese basketball superstar Yao Ming has officially announced his retirement at the age of 30 after being plagued by leg and ankle injuries.
We right now are covering a basketball tragedy. Brandon Roy, after just 5 years in the NBA, forced to retire, lacking cartilage in both knees.
We got some very unexpected news this morning coming out of Brooklyn. LaMarcus Aldridge announcing that he is in fact stepping away from the game due to health conditions.
Bad news for the Houston Rockets early as Dikembe Mutombo, the backup center, gets tangled up with Greg Oden and goes down in pain, clutching at that left knee.
Mutombo didn't waste any time announcing his retirement after that injury. He knew right then and there in the locker room that there was no coming back from that, and honestly looked to be at peace with that reality.
So you know that it's over for you this year.
it's over for me for my career. But for me, basketball is over.
Although that's a very unfortunate way to end a Hall of Fame career, it's obvious that Mutombo is a glass half full type of guy.